The summoning. The crystalline halls of the Galactic Council chamber stretched upward into infinity, their walls pulsing with the soft blue light of 1,000 captured stars. Ambassador Thrace stood alone at the center of the vast circular platform, his 3 hearts beating in an unfamiliar rhythm, something humans called nervousness. For 2,000 years, Thrace's people, the Valkyrie, had served the Galactic Empire without question. Their elongated frames and silver skin marked them as one of the Council's most trusted species. But today everything had changed. Ambassador Thrace of Velkar boomed the voice of High Counselor Zura, a being of pure energy contained within a geometric prison of light. You stand accused of treason against the Galactic Empire. How do you plead? Thrace's mandibles clicked softly, a sign of contemplation among his kind. I plead, necessary. A ripple of shock traveled through the assembled council members. 12 species, each representing billions of souls, sat in judgment. None had ever heard such an answer. Explain yourself, demanded Counselor Vrex, a massive crustacean whose shell bore the scars of countless wars. You violated Protocol 7. You made contact with a quarantined species. The humans. I did, Thrace admitted, his voice steady despite the trembling in his secondary arms. And I would do it again. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien voices, clicks, whistles, rumbles, and sounds that defied human description. High Counselor Zara raised one crystalline appendage, and silence fell like a hammer. The humans were quarantined 300 cycles ago, Zara stated. They were deemed too dangerous, too volatile, too destructive. Yet you chose to land on their world. To speak with them. To share council technology. Why? Thrace's eyes, all 6 of them, focused on a point beyond the council, beyond the chamber, beyond even the station itself. He was remembering. Because, he said quietly, they saved my life. The crash. 6 months earlier. The research vessel Luminary spun through space like a dying star, its hull breached in 17 places. Thrace clutched the navigation console as alarms shrieked their final warnings. Main power failing, his AI companion, Nexus, reported with unsettling calm. Hull integrity at 12%. Recommend immediate evacuation. To where? Thrace gasped, his breathing apparatus cracked in leaking atmosphere. The nearest council outpost is 4 light-years away. Negative. Detecting Class M planet at coordinates 77 Alpha. Designation, Earth. Status, quarantined. Thrace's blood ran cold, or rather, the cool blue liquid that served as blood for his species chilled in his veins. The Forbidden World. The planet of monsters. Calculate alternative routes, he commanded. Insufficient power for course correction. Impact with Earth's atmosphere in 9 minutes. Ambassador, this is the only option. The ship shuddered violently. Through the cracked viewport, Thrace could see the blue and green marble growing larger, its beauty masking the danger it represented. The humans had nearly destroyed themselves 17 times before the council quarantined them. They were savage, warlike, unpredictable. But he had no choice. Nexus, send an automated distress beacon to the council. Then route all remaining power to life support and crash protocols. Acknowledged. Ambassador, it has been an honor serving you. The ship screamed as it hit atmosphere. Thrace's last conscious thought before the impact was a prayer to the ancient Valkyrie gods, deities his people had abandoned when they joined the council. Funny how mortality brought back old habits. He woke to pain and the smell of smoke. The luminary had carved a burning scar across what appeared to be a dense forest. Trees, Earth had so many trees, lay shattered around the crash site. Thrace's left leg was pinned beneath a collapsed support beam. His breathing apparatus was completely destroyed. And Nexus, he wheezed. Silence. He was alone on a planet of monsters, unable to breathe the native atmosphere, trapped in the wreckage of his ship. Thrace began to laugh, a sound like wind chimes in a hurricane. After 2,000 years of his people serving the council perfectly, he would die on the one world they were forbidden to visit. The irony was exquisite. Then he heard voices. Human voices. Holy hell, Mike, you seeing this? Call it in. Call it in now. Is that thing alive? Footsteps crunched through the debris. Thrace tried to turn his head, but his neck wouldn't cooperate. All he could see were shapes, bipedal, shorter than him, moving with urgent purpose. A face appeared above him. Tan skin, brown eyes, black hair covered partially by some sort of yellow helmet. The human, a female, Thrace's translator chip supplied, stared at him with an expression he couldn't read. Hey, she said softly. Hey, can you understand me? Thrace tried to speak, but his vocal cords only produced a rasping sound. He was suffocating. The human turned and shouted. He can't breathe. Tommy, get the oxygen rig. Sarah, that's not human, oxygen might kill it. The woman, Sarah, looked back at Thrace. Their eyes met. And in that moment something passed between them. Recognition, perhaps. Or understanding. He's dying, Sarah said firmly. We try or we watch him die. Your call. Thrace heard the sounds of equipment being moved. Then something was placed over his face, crude, primitive, but functional. He felt his lungs fill with something. Not his native atmosphere, but close enough. The burning in his chest eased. That's it, Sarah murmured. That's it, just breathe. As consciousness faded again, Thrace realized something profound. The monsters were saving him. Recovery. Thrace woke in a white room filled with strange equipment. His leg had been freed and wrapped in some sort of primitive splint. Tubes connected his arms to machines that beeped in steady rhythms. And sitting beside his bed, reading from a handheld device, was Sarah. She noticed his movement immediately. Hey, welcome back. Try not to move too much. You've got about 17 different injuries and we're not exactly sure which of our medical procedures work on your biology. Thrace's translator chip kicked in fully. Where am I? County General Hospital, Montana, United States of America, Earth. She smiled. Though I guess you knew that last part already, considering you crashed here. You should not have helped me. The words came out harsher than Thrace intended. My people, the Council, they told us humans were dangerous. Violent. Sarah's expression shifted, something between amusement and sadness. Yeah, well, we've heard the stories too. About the big bad Galactic Empire that quarantined us. Locked us in our own solar system like we're rabid dogs. She leaned forward. But here's the thing about humans, we're really bad at following rules we didn't agree to. And we're really good at judging people by their actions, not their reputation. Over the next 3 weeks, Thrace learned more about humanity than the Council's entire database had recorded in 3 centuries. He learned that Sarah was a firefighter, a profession dedicated entirely to saving lives and property from destruction. He met Dr. Chin, who spent 18 hours straight figuring out how to synthesize a breathable atmosphere for Valkyrie physiology. He was visited by a man named Marcus, a 12-year-old boy who brought drawings of spaceships and asked questions about the stars with eyes full of wonder. Why aren't you afraid? Thrace asked Sarah one evening. Your own governments must have protocols for alien contact. Sarah laughed. Oh, they do. About 6 different agencies wanted to take you to some secret facility. There was almost an international incident. She leaned back in her chair. But the thing is, Mr. Thrace, you crashed in pretty much the middle of nowhere. By the time the suits showed up, half the town had already heard about the alien who said, thank you, to the first responders. Hard to disappear someone when they've already become the most popular patient in the hospital's history. I don't understand. The Council records show humans are territorial, suspicious of outsiders. We are, Sarah admitted. But we're also curious, compassionate, complicated. She gestured to the window where Thrace could see humans going about their daily lives. We've got the capacity for great violence, sure. But we've also got the capacity for great kindness. The Council only focused on one side of that equation. Thrace watched a human child help an elderly human cross the street. Watched 2 humans embrace in greeting. Watched a human stop to help another human whose vehicle had malfunctioned. You're not monsters, he said quietly. Nope. We're just people trying to figure things out. Same as everyone else in the galaxy, I'd bet. On the day Thrace's leg had healed enough to walk, Sarah took him outside. The night sky blazed with stars, so many stars, yet Earth was isolated from all of them. That's Proxima Centauri, Thrace said, pointing to a faint light. There's a Council outpost there. A research station with 57 species working together. Must be nice, Sarah said wistfully. We've been trying to get out there for decades. But every probe we send past Mars gets discouraged. The quarantine barrier, Thrace confirmed. I helped design the current iteration. Sarah looked at him sharply. You? I'm not just an ambassador. I'm also a systems engineer. The barrier was supposed to be humane, just strong enough to keep you contained without causing harm. He paused. I thought I was protecting the galaxy from humanity. Now I realize I was protecting humanity from a galaxy that didn't want to understand you. So what happens now? Sarah asked. Your people must be looking for you. They'll send a retrieval team eventually. When they do, I'll be arrested for violating the quarantine. probably imprisoned. Thrace turned to face her fully. But before that happens, I need to do something. Something that will likely get me executed. Which is, I need to tell the council the truth about humanity. And I need a human to help me do it. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Then she grinned. Well, hell. I've always wanted to see space. The message. 3 months later, Sarah stood aboard the Luminary, now repaired with an odd combination of Valkyrie technology and human ingenuity. Dr. Chin had insisted on adding a few improvements to the life support systems. Marcus had painted a small American flag on the hull, right next to the Valkyrie symbols. You sure about this? Sarah asked as Thrace configured the communications array. There's no going back once we send this. I've never been more certain of anything. Thrace's fingers danced across holographic controls. The council needs to see what I've seen. Who you really are. For 3 months, Thrace had lived among humans. He'd attended a birthday party for Marcus. He'd helped Sarah's fire station develop better emergency response protocols. He'd taught quantum physics at the local university and learned about jazz music from a street musician named Deshawn. He'd learned that humans could be petty and kind, violent and gentle, selfish and selfless. Often within the same day, sometimes within the same hour. They were contradictions wrapped in skin and bone, and they were magnificent. Recording active, Nexus announced. The AI had survived the crash by downloading into the Luminary's backup systems. You may begin, Ambassador. Thrace took a breath. Behind him, Sarah stood at attention, wearing her firefighter dress uniform. They decided she should be in the recording, proof that a human had stood beside a council member. Hi Counselor Zara, esteemed council members, Thrace began. I am Ambassador Thrace of Velkar. 3 months ago my vessel crashed on the quarantined world Earth. I survived. And in surviving, I discovered that everything the council believes about humanity is wrong. He gestured to Sarah. This is Sarah Reeves, a human firefighter. When I crashed, I was dying. My ship was destroyed. I was trapped and suffocating. Sarah and her team saved my life, even though they had never seen my species before. Even though they risked their own safety to do so. Sarah stepped forward. Members of the Galactic Council, my name is Sarah Reeves. I'm 29 years old, born and raised on Earth. I've never traveled beyond my own atmosphere. But I speak for 7 billion humans when I say, we're ready. Ready to join the galactic community. Ready to prove we're more than the violent primitives you think we are. For 3 months, Thrace continued, I've lived among humans. I've seen their capacity for compassion, their hunger for knowledge, their willingness to help strangers. Yes, they have a violent history. Yes, they've made mistakes. But which species hasn't? The Valkyrie had 3 world wars before we achieved space flight. The Kryn nearly destroyed themselves with biological weapons. Every species in the Council has blood in their past. He moved closer to the camera. The difference is humanity never had a chance to prove they'd grown beyond their history. We locked them away based on fear. We denied them the opportunity to learn from the galaxy, and denied the galaxy the opportunity to learn from them. Sarah held up a data chip. This contains 3 months of recorded interactions. Medical data. Cultural exchanges. Scientific collaborations. Everything Ambassador Thrace experienced here. We're not asking you to take our word for it. We're asking you to look at the evidence. I'm requesting an emergency council session, Thrace declared. I'm formally challenging the Earth quarantine under Article 47 of the Council Charter, the right of any species to petition for membership if they demonstrate sufficient development and peaceful intent. I will present my findings in person. He paused. And I will bring Sarah Reeves with me. The Council should meet at least 1 human before deciding their fate. Recorded and encrypted, Nexus confirmed. Sending via quantum burst transmission. The Council will receive it in approximately sent. The message has been delivered. Sarah exhaled slowly. Well, we did it. We did. Thrace turned to her. Sarah, you understand what this means? If the Council agrees, you'll be the first human to ever leave your solar system. You'll face species that have feared and despised humanity for centuries. You'll be judged by beings who consider you a threat. Sarah's grin was fierce. Bring it on. The journey. The response came faster than Thrace expected. A mere 3 days. Emergency session granted. Nexus read from the official communication. Ambassador Thrace is to report to Council Station Alpha immediately. The human may accompany him, under armed escort and strict supervision. Any attempt to deviate from prescribed route will result in immediate termination. Friendly, Sarah muttered. They're terrified, Thrace explained. You represent chaos to them. The unknown variable in their carefully ordered galaxy. The journey to Council Station Alpha took 2 weeks at faster-than-light speeds. Sarah spent most of that time with her face pressed to the viewports, watching as Earth's sun became just another star among billions. We're really alone out here, aren't we? She said one evening. All those stars and humanity never got to touch a single one. Perhaps that's about to change. They passed through regions of space Sarah had only dreamed about. The Crimson Nebula, where newborn stars glowed like rubies. The Singing Fields, where solar winds created harmonies across electromagnetic spectra. The Gateway Array, ancient structures built by a species long extinct. And everywhere they went they were watched. 7 Council ships have been tracking us since we left Earth's solar system, Nexus reported. They're maintaining a distance of 50,000 kilometers. They really don't trust us, Sarah observed. Can you blame them? The last time a human-built probe reached the quarantine boundary, it was armed with primitive nuclear weapons. Just in case. Sarah had the grace to look embarrassed. The Cold War was a weird time. We were paranoid. And what are you now? She considered the question seriously. Hopeful. Scared. Determined. She looked at Thrace. Human. As they approached Council Station Alpha, even Thrace was struck silent. The station was a sphere 30 kilometers in diameter, built from materials that shouldn't exist according to conventional physics. It hung in space like an artificial moon, orbited by hundreds of ships from dozens of species. This is Control, a voice said over the comm system. Vessel Luminary, you are cleared for docking Bay 77. Deviation from approach vector will be considered a hostile act. Confirm understanding. Confirmed, Thrace replied. The docking bay could have held 50 ships the size of the Luminary. As they landed, Sarah could see armed guards, members of species she couldn't even name, surrounding their landing pad. They're really rolling out the red carpet, she said dryly. Sarah. Thrace placed a hand on her shoulder. Whatever happens in there, remember, you represent your entire species. The Council will judge all of humanity based on you. No pressure then. But I've learned something about humans these past months. Thrace's mandibles clicked in what Sarah had learned was a smile. You perform best under pressure. The airlock opened. Sarah took her first breath of air on an alien space station, filtered, recycled, and shared by 100 different species. A Valkyrie officer approached, his silver skin bearing the marks of military service. Ambassador Thrace, you will surrender your weapons and personal effects. The human will be scanned for biological and technological threats. Her name is Sarah Reeves, Thrace said firmly. And she's my guest. The officer's eyes narrowed. She's a security risk. Protocol demands. Protocol demands respect for diplomatic envoys. Article 19. They stared at each other. Finally, the officer gestured curtly. This way. The Council is waiting. As they walked through corridors filled with aliens of every description, Sarah noticed something. The beings they passed didn't just look at her with fear or hostility. They looked at her with curiosity, wonder, and in some cases, something that looked almost like hope. They've never seen a human before, Thrace whispered. Your history being made, Sarah. Every step you take. They reached the great doors of the Council chamber. 2 massive beings, each 3 meters tall and covered in what looked like living stone, stood guard. Ambassador Thrace of Velkar, one rumbled. Human Sarah Reeves. The Galactic Council awaits. May truth guide your words. The doors opened. And Sarah Reeves became the first human to stand before the powers that govern the galaxy. The trial. The Council chamber was exactly as Thrace had described it, beautiful, vast, and utterly intimidating. 12 beings sat in judgment, representing 12 species and countless billions of lives. But Sarah didn't let herself be intimidated. She'd run into burning buildings. She'd pulled people from crushed vehicles. She'd faced death with nothing but courage and a hose. She could handle some aliens with attitude problems. Ambassador Thrace, High Counselor Zichara's voice resonated through the chamber. You stand accused of violating Protocol 7, breaching quarantine, and endangering the galactic community by making contact with a quarantined species. How do you plead? I plead necessary, Thrace said again. And I request that Sarah Reeves be allowed to speak before this council. The chamber erupted in protests. Counselor Vrex's shell clattered angrily. This is unprecedented. No quarantined species has ever addressed the council. Because you never gave them the chance. Sarah's voice rang out, clear and strong. Silence fell. High Counselor Zara regarded her with something that might have been interest. You dare speak to the council without permission, human? I dare, Sarah said firmly. Because someone needs to. You quarantined my entire species 300 years ago based on our history. You locked us away from the stars. You denied us the chance to learn, to grow, to prove ourselves. And you did it without ever meeting a single one of us. We monitored your world, Counselor Malthus, a being of crystalline structure, said coldly. We watched you wage war after war. Saw you develop weapons capable of destroying your own world. Witnessed violence, hatred, and destruction on a scale rarely seen in the galaxy. You're right, Sarah said, and the admission clearly surprised them. We did all those things. We were violent. We were short-sighted. We nearly destroyed ourselves a dozen times over. She stepped forward. But we didn't. We pulled back from the brink. We learned. We grew. She pulled out a small device, a tablet from Earth. May I show you something? At Zichara's nod, Sarah activated a holographic display. Images filled the chamber. The International Space Station, a symbol of global cooperation. Doctors Without Borders, providing aid across borders and conflicts. The Paris Climate Agreement, nations coming together to save their world. Children of different races playing together. Scientists from different countries collaborating on research. You saw our capacity for violence, Sarah said. But you never stayed long enough to see our capacity for change. For growth. For choosing peace over war, cooperation over conflict. Empty propaganda, Vrex snarled. You expect us to believe you've fundamentally changed? That you're no longer a threat? I expect you to judge us fairly, Sarah shot back. The same way we judged Ambassador Thrace. Not by his species past, not by reputation or fear, but by his actions. His character. She turned to address all the council members. When Thrace crashed on Earth, he was helpless. Dying. We could have captured him, studied him, taken his technology. By your logic, that's what a violent, primitive species would do. She paused. Instead, we saved him. We healed him. We shared our world with him. Not because we wanted something, but because it was the right thing to do. Thrace stepped forward to stand beside her. For 3 months, I lived among humans. I experienced their culture firsthand. And I discovered something remarkable. They're not so different from us. They have families they love. Dreams they pursue. Fears they face. They're flawed, yes. But so are we all. The human makes pretty speeches, Counselor Sylvan said, their form shifting like liquid metal. But words mean nothing. Humans have lied before. Then test me, Sarah challenged. Give me a situation. Ask me a question. Challenge my morality, my ethics, my judgment. You want to know what humans are really like? Then talk to one. Actually talk to one instead of watching from a distance and making assumptions. High Counselor Zara was silent for a long moment. Then, very well. Human Sarah Reeves, answer me this. If we lift the quarantine and allow humanity into the galactic community, what happens when you discover species weaker than you? Civilizations with resources you need? Will you conquer them? Exploit them? Sarah didn't hesitate. Probably some of us would try. Humans aren't perfect. We have greedy people, power-hungry people, people who would absolutely exploit weaker civilizations. She met Zichara's gaze steadily. But we also have laws. Justice systems. People who fight against exploitation. And if we joined the galactic community, we'd have you. The Council. Setting standards, enforcing rules, holding us accountable. You admit your species would harm others? Malthus said incredulously. I admit we're capable of it. Same as every species here. Sarah gestured to the council members. Ambassador Thrace told me about the Valkyrie World Wars. The Kryn biological weapons. The Sylvan expansion that destroyed 3 pre-spaceflight civilizations before the council was formed. Every species in this chamber has blood in their past. The question isn't whether we're capable of violence. It's whether we choose peace when given the option. And humans do? Vrex challenged. More and more, yes. We're not there yet, we're still learning. But we're trying. And we'll never get where we need to be if you keep us locked away from the galaxy's wisdom. Sarah's voice grew passionate. You can quarantine us forever, sure. Keep us trapped in our solar system. But you know what'll happen? Eventually we'll break out on our own. And when we do, we'll be angry. Resentful. We'll see the galaxy as something that rejected us. She softened her tone. Or you can give us a chance. Let us join the community. Let us learn from species who've been navigating these challenges for millennia. Yes, we'll make mistakes. Yes, we'll stumble. But we'll do it as part of the galactic family, not as outsiders with something to prove. The council chamber was silent. Then Counselor Reshtor spoke for the first time, a being of pure energy, even more ancient than Zijara. The human speaks with conviction. But conviction alone does not equal trustworthiness. We require proof of humanity's peaceful intent. What kind of proof? Sarah asked. A gesture. Something that demonstrates humanity values the galactic good over its own interests. Sarah frowned, thinking. Then her eyes widened. The quarantine barrier. The technology preventing us from leaving our solar system. It's advanced, right? Probably more advanced than anything we could build. Obviously, Vrex said dismissively. Then we'll help you improve it. The chamber erupted in confused voices. Zijara raised an appendage for silence. Explain. You built the barrier to contain us, Sarah said. But Thrace told me it has other applications. It could be adapted to protect developing civilizations from outside interference. It could shield scientific research stations. It could even be used as a defense against hostile forces. She smiled. We've spent 300 years studying that barrier, trying to understand it, testing it. We've learned things about its operation that even the designers might not know. She looked at Thrace, who nodded. Sarah proposed this idea to me last week. She's right. Human scientists have been analyzing the quarantine barrier for centuries. They have insights that could help improve the technology. You would share this knowledge? Malthus asked, clearly skeptical. Information that could help us keep you imprisoned? Yes, Sarah said simply. Because we're not your enemies. We're not trying to break out and wreak havoc. We just want to be part of something bigger than ourselves. And if sharing what we've learned helps keep other developing civilizations safe until they're ready to join the galactic community, well, that's exactly the kind of thing we want to contribute. High Counselor Zichara's form pulsed with light. This is unexpected. That's humans for you, Sarah said with a grin. We're full of surprises. The verdict. The council deliberated for 3 days. Sarah and Thrace were confined to a diplomatic suite, comfortable but clearly monitored. Sarah spent the time learning everything she could about galactic politics, culture, and history. Thrace spent it preparing for the consequences of his actions, whatever they might be. Do you regret it? Sarah asked on the third evening. Helping me? Challenging the council. You'll probably lose everything. Thrace's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. I spent 2,000 years serving the Empire without question. Following protocols. Maintaining order. He looked at her. But what's the point of order if it's unjust? What's the point of peace if it's built on fear? He paused. I found something on Earth I'd never experienced before, a sense of purpose that wasn't about following rules. It was about doing what's right, even when it's difficult. That's very human of you, Sarah said with a smile. Perhaps humanity is contagious. On the morning of the 4th day, they were summoned back to the council chamber. Sarah's heart pounded as they walked the corridors, but she kept her head high. Whatever happened, she'd represented Earth with honesty and courage. That would have to be enough. The council sat in judgment once more. High Counselor Zichara spoke. Ambassador Thrace of Velkar. Human Sarah Reeves. The council has reached a decision regarding the Earth quarantine. Sarah held her breath. For 300 years, we have kept humanity isolated, believing them too dangerous to join the galactic community. Our decision was based on observation, analysis, and fear of the unknown. Zichara paused. But as Sarah Reeves correctly noted, we never actually spoke with them. Never gave them the opportunity to explain themselves. Never allowed them to show who they'd become, rather than who they were. Counselor Vrex spoke next, his tone grudging. The humans' offer to share research on the quarantine barrier was surprising. Not the action of a species planning aggression or conquest. The gesture demonstrates a capacity for long-term thinking and cooperation that we did not expect. However, Counselor Malthus interjected, humanity remains unpredictable. Potentially dangerous. We cannot simply remove the quarantine and hope for the best. Sarah's heart sank. They'd considered and rejected. Therefore, High Counselor Ziara continued, the Council has decided on a probationary period. The quarantine barrier will be modified to allow limited travel between Earth and designated Council territories. A small number of humans, no more than 50 initially, will be permitted to attend the Galactic Academy to learn our laws, customs, and technologies. Sarah's eyes widened. These ambassadors will be observed closely. Their behavior will determine whether humanity as a whole is ready for full membership in the galactic community. After a period of 10 Earth years, the Council will reassess. If humanity demonstrates consistent peaceful behavior and successful integration, the quarantine will be fully lifted. And if they don't? Sarah had to ask. Zichara's gaze was steady. Then the quarantine will be reimposed. Permanently. It wasn't full freedom. It wasn't immediate acceptance. But it was a chance. More than that, it was proof that the galaxy could change just as humanity had. We accept, Sarah said, her voice thick with emotion. On behalf of humanity we accept. Thank you. Do not thank us yet, Vrex rumbled. You will be held to the highest standards. Any violence, any aggression, any betrayal of trust will doom your entire species. We understand. And Sarah did. They were getting one shot. One chance to prove humanity belonged among the stars. As for Ambassador Thrace, Zara said, and Thrace straightened, preparing for punishment. Your actions violated protocols, endangered security, and challenged council authority. Under normal circumstances, you would face severe consequences. I accept responsibility for my choices, Thrace said firmly. However, Zara continued, your actions also led to this resolution. You provided evidence that changed the council's perspective on an entire civilization. You demonstrated courage, integrity, and commitment to justice over convenience. The High Councilor's form pulsed with approval. Therefore your actions are pardoned. Furthermore, you are appointed as the Council's official liaison to Earth. You will oversee the integration process and serve as humanity's advocate within the Council. Thrace's 3 hearts skipped beats in unison. High Councilor, I don't know what to say. Say you'll continue to show the same dedication to truth that you've demonstrated here. I will. I swear it. Sarah grabbed Thrace's arm, grinning so wide her face hurt. They'd done it. Against all odds, despite centuries of fear and isolation, they'd done it. But Zara wasn't finished. Sarah Reeves. Sarah snapped to attention. Yes, High Councilor? You are the first human to address this council. The first to travel beyond your solar system. The first to show us that humanity can be more than we feared. Zara's form shifted, seeming almost to bow slightly. You carry a heavy responsibility. You are the standard by which all humans will be judged. Are you prepared for that burden? Sarah thought of everyone back home. Her fellow firefighters. Dr. Chin. Young Marcus with his drawings of spaceships. 7 billion humans who didn't even know their world had just changed forever. I'm ready, she said. And so are we. Epilogue. 6 months later, Sarah stood in the observation deck of the Galactic Academy, watching as the first class of human students arrived. 50 humans, scientists, diplomats, teachers, engineers, from every continent on Earth. They stared at the stars with the same wonder Sarah had felt on her first journey. Thrace joined her at the viewport. Having second thoughts? About speaking to an all-powerful Galactic Council? About representing my entire species? About changing the course of human history? Sarah laughed. Nah. Just another Tuesday. One of the new human arrivals approached. A young woman with bright purple hair and excited eyes. Excuse me, are you Sarah Reeves? The Sarah Reeves? Just Sarah, she said with a smile. Welcome to the stars. I can't believe we're really here, the woman breathed, staring out at the swirling nebulas and distant worlds. I can't believe this is real. Believe it, Sarah said. This is just the beginning. Humanity's been waiting 300 years for this moment. Now it's up to all of us to prove we belong here. The woman nodded seriously, then grinned. No pressure though, right? Sarah laughed. You'll do fine. We all will. Because that's what humans do. We adapt, we learn, and we don't give up. Ever. As the young woman hurried off to join her fellow students, Thrace clicked his mandibles in amusement. You really believe that, don't you? That humanity will succeed? I believe we'll try our hardest, Sarah corrected. And sometimes 21:17. That's enough. Below them, the first human class filed into the Academy's Great Hall, where representatives from a dozen species waited to teach them the ways of the galaxy. It wouldn't be easy. There would be misunderstandings, conflicts, failures along the way. But for the first time in 300 years, humanity had a chance to reach for the stars. And they were going to make it count.